September 14th, 2044, 0247 hours, 33 miles southwest of Point Loma. 3 Chinese destroyers just appeared on radar, doing 40 knots straight for San Diego. And I've got 18 minutes to decide if I'm trading my ship for a city or watching both burn. Captain Cole Harris, USS Mahan. 3 months since Boston, 3 months since Marcus Reeves went down with the Hamilton, 3 months since I learned that 94% isn't good enough when your brother's standing in the 6%. We're different now. The crew, Boston changed us. Showed us what happens when you stop most of the attack, but not all of it. When you save thousands, but lose thousands more. When you do everything right, and children still ask where their mothers went. Danny doesn't text as much anymore. Says he sees their faces every time he closes his eyes. The ones he couldn't save. The ones who bled out while he tried to stop the hemorrhaging with hands that weren't fast enough. I know the feeling. The Pacific Fleet redeployed us here 2 weeks ago. West Coast defense, after intelligence suggested China was pivoting strategy. Less focus on carrier groups in the South China Sea, more focus on homeland strikes, coordinated with Russia. Simultaneous attacks designed to overwhelm defenses on both coasts. Boston was the proof of concept. San Diego is the execution. 17 million people between here and Los Angeles. The largest naval base on the West Coast. Carriers, submarines, amphibious assault ships, hundreds of billions in assets. Tens of thousands of sailors and their families living within 5 miles of the waterfront. One good strike, and China cripples American naval power for a generation. We're the tripwire. 4 destroyers spread across 60 miles of dark water. Mahan, Sterrett, Decatur, and Stockdale. Watching, waiting, listening for the threat we know is coming, but can't predict when. Until now. Commander Ortiz stands beside me at the tactical display. She hasn't slept in 36 hours. None of us have. We've been at general quarters since yesterday afternoon when submarine activity spiked north of our position. 4 contacts, maybe 5. Chinese boats creeping south through the deep water channels, positioning for something. This is the something. Captain, surface contacts confirmed as Type 052D destroyers, PLA Navy, bearing 092, speed 40 knots, range 33 miles. They're in a sprint. Sprint formation. When destroyers run at maximum speed directly toward a target, it means they're trying to get into missile range before we can stop them. Trying to close the distance fast enough that our intercept window shrinks to nothing. Time to their effective launch range. Ortiz works her display. 14 minutes if they maintain speed. They're carrying YJ-18 anti-ship missiles. Range 290 miles, but the real threat... She pauses, checks something. Captain, they're also fitted for land attack variants. If they're loaded with those, they can hit San Diego from their current position. Current position, which means they might already be in range. Might launch any second. Might put 100 cruise missiles into the air before we fire a shot. Are they in range now? Affirmative. If they're carrying the land attack variant, they can strike San Diego from 30 miles out. I look at the display. 3 red symbols racing toward us. Behind them, somewhere in the dark, 4 or 5 submarines. Ahead of them, 17 million people and the heart of American naval power. Multi-axis attack. Surface and subsurface threats. The exact scenario that killed ships in Boston. The exact calculation that makes defense impossible. Stop the destroyers and the submarines launch. Stop the submarines and the destroyers launch. You can't prosecute both simultaneously without dividing your force. And dividing your force is how you lose everything. Alert the task force. Get me weapons-free authorization from Fleet. I want firing solutions on all 3 contacts. Aye, sir. Lieutenant Park appears. Weapons officer. Good kid. Got better after Boston. Steadier. Like watching people die clarified something for him. Made the training real. Captain, we're tracking multiple subsurface contacts now. count is 5 distinct signatures. The spreading out, creating a screen between us and the Chinese destroyers. 5 submarines. Positioning to intercept our ships if we move toward the destroyers. Positioning to sink us before we can engage the surface threat. Same playbook as Boston. Same impossible math. Classification? Type 093 and Type 095 variants. Attack submarines. Fast, quiet, carrying U-6 torpedoes. If they launch, we've got maybe 10 minutes to evade. 10 minutes against 5 submarines and 3 destroyers. Against weapons designed specifically to overwhelm American defenses. The Chinese learned from Boston too. Learned that stacking threats works. That forcing us to choose between targets creates gaps in the defense. And that gaps kill cities. Fleet Commander's broadcasting. Stand by. Admiral Chen's voice cuts through. Pacific Fleet Commander. Replaced Admiral Patterson after Boston. Younger, harder. Lost her son on the Reagan when China sank the carrier group in '43. O units, this is PACOM. Confirmed Chinese Service Action Group inbound to San Diego. Assess intent is coordinated strike on naval base and civilian infrastructure. You are weapons free. Engage and destroy all hostile contacts. Rules of engagement: kill anything that threatens the homeland. Weapons free. The authorization to start shooting. To commit our magazines to stopping 3 destroyers and 5 submarines with 4 ships. The math doesn't favor us. Hasn't favored us since this war started. Park, get me Tomahawk solutions on all 3 destroyers. Coordinate with the task force. I want overwhelming firepower on those contacts. Captain, Tomahawk solutions locked. We can ripple fire 8 missiles per destroyer. Stare at indicator are coordinating for simultaneous launch. 24 Tomahawks against 3 destroyers. Should be enough. Tomahawks are designed for exactly this. Anti-ship variants that streak in at high subsonic, low altitude, punching through steel with 1,000-pound warheads. Should be enough. Except the Chinese have defense systems too. Point defense guns, short-range missiles, electronic warfare that might spoof our seekers. Time to launch? Solutions locked. Ready on your command. I look at the display. 3 destroyers at 32 miles. 5 submarines spreading out. Behind me, San Diego, sleeping, unaware, trusting that 4 destroyers and a few thousand sailors can stop what's coming. Boston taught me that trust is a weight, a responsibility, an equation where you do the math and pray the answer is good enough. All units, commence firing. Tomahawks, maximum rate. The Mahan shudders. VLS cells crack open. Tomahawk missiles blast skyward on columns of flame, one after another. 8 weapons climbing into the night, accelerating, banking west toward the Chinese destroyers. Around the task force, the other ships do the same. 24 missiles total. 24 chances to stop 3 destroyers before they launch on San Diego. Through the viewport, I watch the missiles disappear into darkness. Watch the fire trails fade. Watch the ocean return to black. Somewhere out there, Chinese sailors are watching the same thing on their radar. Watching American missiles inbound. Making the same calculations I'm making. Wondering if their defenses are good enough. Time to impact. 4 minutes. Missiles running hot, straight, normal. 4 minutes. 240 seconds for our weapons to close 30 miles. 240 seconds for the Chinese to shoot them down or die. Captain, subsurface contacts are maneuvering. Multiple contacts changing depth and bearing. Assess their positioning for torpedo launch. The submarines. Coming for us while we're focused on the destroyers. Multi-access attack. The threat that splits your attention, that forces you to defend against everything simultaneously. Can we engage with ASROC? Santos checks her sonar. Chief Petty Officer Maria Santos. Still the best sonar operator in the fleet. Still listening for things that want to kill us. Negative, sir. They're too spread out. We need to fire 30 weapons to cover all 5 contacts. We don't have that many loaded. 30 weapons we don't have. Against 5 submarines we can't ignore, while 3 destroyers race toward launch range. This is how you lose. Not from one catastrophic failure,
from too many threats, from math that doesn't balance, from equations where every answer costs something. First Tomahawk impacts in 30 seconds. I watch the display. Watch the blue symbols converge on the red symbols. Watch mathematics and physics race toward the moment where our missiles either connect or miss. Impact. Multiple explosions bearing 092. Analyzing. The tactical display updates. One red symbol disappears. One Chinese destroyer dead in the water. One threat eliminated. Splash one destroyer. Remaining contacts are... Captain, they're launching. Multiple missiles in the air. The two remaining destroyers, firing everything while our Tomahawks arrive, putting their entire loadout into the air, guaranteeing that even if we sink them, their weapons keep flying toward San Diego. Count is 36 YJ-18 variants airborne. Tracking shows, sir, that land attack configuration, all of them targeted on San Diego. 36 cruise missiles from two destroyers, racing towards 17 million people at 600 knots. Our remaining Tomahawks impact. Both destroyers disappear from the display. 16 missiles connecting, overwhelming their defenses, sending them to the bottom. But their missiles keep flying, keep racing toward the city, because that's how modern warfare works. You kill the launcher, but the weapons survive. You win the surface battle, but lose the city anyway. Time to impact on San Diego. 18 minutes at current speed. 18 minutes. We're 33 miles offshore. The missiles are between us and the city. We're the last line, the last chance to stop them before they hit the naval base, before they kill thousands, before Boston happens again. All units, engage cruise missiles. Standards free. Kill everything. The Mahan's VLS cells open. SM-6 missiles launch. Our longest-range interceptors, designed for exactly this scenario, designed to kill cruise missiles before they reach the coast. We fire 16 weapons. The task force fires 60 more. 76 defensive missiles against 36 cruise missiles. Better than 2-to-1 odds. Should be enough. But I know this feeling. Know what it's like to do everything right and watch missiles get through anyway. Know what it's like to stop 94% and watch the 6% kill thousands. Boston taught me that percentages don't matter to the dead. The ocean erupts with light. Missiles launching. Interceptors engaging. Technology fighting technology, while 17 million people sleep. Santos calls out, Captain, subsurface contacts are launching. Multiple torpedoes in the water. Count is 12, 16 torpedoes. 4 each targeted on Mahan, Sterett, Decatur, and Stockdale. The submarines, firing everything while we're focused on the cruise missiles. Trying to sink the destroyers before we can shoot down all the threats. Multi-axis attack. The scenario with no good answer. Deploy countermeasures. Evasive pattern Charlie 5. Continue engaging cruise missiles. We can't stop. Can't focus on the torpedoes. Have to trust the countermeasures work while we kill cruise missiles. Have to bet that technology saves us while we save San Diego. Boston taught me that sometimes you lose that bet.
The Mahan heals. Noisemakers launch. Acoustic decoys splashing into the water, creating false targets, trying to pull the torpedoes away from the ship. We can't maneuver hard, can't run, have to maintain position to engage the cruise missiles, have to stay in the firing basket even though torpedoes are hunting us. First standards impact, splash count 4, 32 cruise missiles remaining, 4 kills. Good start? Not good enough. More standards engage, more explosions bloom on the display. Each one a cruise missile destroyed before it reaches the city. Each one a neighborhood saved. A family that survives. Splash count 12, 24 remaining. Better. We're killing them. Chewing through the raid. But they're getting closer. 17 minutes from San Diego. 16, 15. Captain, torpedoes are... Sir, 2 weapons tracking us. Range 8 miles. Time to impact 6 minutes. 2 torpedoes. Out of 4 fired at us. 2 that ignored the countermeasures. 2 that are hunting the Mahan. 6 minutes to impact, while we're shooting down cruise missiles, while San Diego depends on us staying in the fight. Same choice I made in Boston. Same impossible calculation, or city, crew, or mission. I chose the city in Boston. Lost the Porter, but saved Washington. Or tried to. Failed anyway when 15 missiles got through. What do I choose now? The torpedoes close at 50 knots. Wire-guided, smart, adaptive to countermeasures. Chinese U-6 heavies carrying warheads designed to crack American destroyers in half. 6 minutes becomes 5. Splash count 18. 18 cruise missiles remaining. We're winning the intercept battle, killing more than half the raid, but 18 missiles hitting San Diego is still catastrophe, still thousands dead, still the naval base crippled, still failure. Captain, recommend we break off and evade torpedoes. If we take a hit, negative. Maintain firing position, continue engaging cruise missiles. Ortiz stares at me, understands what I'm saying, understands I'm choosing the mission over the ship. Again, same choice that cost me the Porter, same choice that might cost me the Mahan. Sir, if those torpedoes connect, then we die shooting. Keep firing. She nods, turns back to her display. Professionals don't argue when the captain makes the call. They execute and pray it works. More standards launch. The magazine empties. We're throwing everything at the cruise vessels, every weapon, every chance to stop them before they reach the city. Splash count 24, 12 remaining. 12 cruise missiles. Getting through everything. Getting closer to San Diego. 13 minutes out. 12. Torpedoes at 4 miles. 3 minutes to impact. 3 minutes to live. Maybe. If the torpedoes connect, if our last-ditch countermeasures fail, if the ocean claims another destroyer. I think about Emma, about our last conversation 3 days ago. She asked when I was coming home. I said soon. Lied again. Captains lie to their daughters about survival. I think about Danny, still in Boston, still pulling bodies from rubble 3 months later, still seeing faces when he closes his eyes. He'll add mine to the collection if this goes wrong. Splash count 28, 8 remaining. 8 cruise missiles. We're killing them, grinding down the raid, but 8 missiles hitting the naval base is devastation. Carriers damaged, submarines lost, the Pacific Fleet crippled for months. Captain, Sterrett reports torpedo impact. They're hit, port side, taking on water. Sterrett? Captain Diana Vance commanding. 300 crew just took a U-6 to the hull. Same weapon that killed the Hamilton in Boston. Same weapon racing toward us right now. Can they maintain station? Negative. They're listing, flooding in multiple compartments. Captain Vance is ordering damage control to critical spaces. Listing. Word that means dying. That means the ocean is winning. That means another crew is about to learn what Marcus Reeves learned. But Sterrett keeps firing, even damaged, even flooding. Their standards still launch, still race toward the remaining cruise missiles, still fighting to save San Diego while the ship sinks beneath them. That's what we do. Fight until there's nothing left to fight with. Torpedoes at 2 miles, 90 seconds to impact. 90 seconds until 2 U-6 torpedoes connect with the Mahan's hull, until 9,000 tons of American steel learns what the Porter learned, what the Hamilton learned, what the Sterrett is learning right now. All remaining ships continue engaging. Do not break formation. Aye, sir. More standards launch. Decatur and Stockdale throwing their final weapons. The task force committing everything to stopping the last 8 cruise missiles. 8,000-pound warheads aimed at the naval base, at the carriers and submarines, and repair facilities, at the thousands of sailors who live pierside, at the families and base housing who trust that 4 destroyers can stop this. Splash count 32, 4 remaining. 4 missiles, getting through everything. Through fighters and SAMs and standards and 76 interceptors. 4 survivors racing towards San Diego at 600 knots. We stopped 90%. Exceptional performance, better than Boston. better than only defensive engagement in this war. But 4 missiles hitting the naval base is catastrophe. Torpedoes at 1 mile, 45 seconds. 45 seconds until 2 U-6 torpedoes connect with the Mahan's hull. Until 9,000 tons of American steel learns what the Porter learned, what the Hamilton learned, what the Sterrett is learning right now.
I grip the railing. Around the bridge, my crew holds stations. Santos at sonar, Park at weapons, Ortiz coordinating the defense, all of them staying because I ordered them to. All of them about to die because the mission matters more than survival. Boston taught me that sometimes you trade the ship for the city. Tonight, I'm making that trade again. Splash count 34, 2 remaining. 2 cruise missiles, 11 minutes from San Diego. We can't reach them, can't engage. We're Winchester on standards. Empty magazines, nothing left to throw at the last 2 threats. They're going to hit, going to kill hundreds, maybe thousands. Going to prove that even when you stop 98%, the 2% still matters. Ground defenses engaging, Patriot batteries firing from Naval Base Point Loma. The final layer, ground-based interceptors. The last chance before the missiles hit the waterfront, before they strike the carriers and destroy American naval power. Torpedoes at half mile, 20 seconds. 20 seconds. I look around the bridge one last time. My crew, my people, all of them about to learn what drowning feels like, what it means when captains choose the mission over the ship. Sir, recommend all hands brace for impact. All hands, brace for impact. Prepare for flooding. The announcement echoes through the ship. 270 sailors processing what it means. Understanding that the torpedoes are seconds away, that the choice is made, that we're staying in the fight until the water takes us. Just like Marcus Reeves. Just like Lisa Reeves before him. Just like every captain who chose duty over survival. 10 seconds. Santos calls out bearing and range. Professional to the end. Tracking the weapons that are about to kill us. 5 seconds. I close my eyes. Think about Emma, about Danny, about Sarah who died in Washington, and Marcus who died off Boston, and all the people this war has taken. Think about whether any of it matters. Whether saving 98% justifies the cost. Impact! Sir, the torpedoes are turning! My eyes snap open. Both torpedoes changing course, bearing shift. They're not tracking us anymore. Captain, they're tracking our noisemakers. We're breaking contact. The countermeasures worked. The acoustic decoys pulled the torpedoes away. Technology functioning as designed. 270 sailors just got lucky. Confirmed torpedo track. Santos checks her display. Checks again. Confirmed. Both weapons past astern. Range increasing. They're chasing decoys. We're clear. We survived. The Mahan survived. We stayed in the fight and didn't die for it. This time. Patriot engagement. Ground batteries firing. On the display, I watched the final intercept attempt. Ground-based SAMs launching from Point Loma, racing toward the last 2 cruise missiles, the last 2 chances for catastrophe. The missiles are 8 minutes from the naval base. 7, 6. First Patriot impact. Splash count 35. 1 cruise missile remaining. 1 missile. Getting through everything. Through every layer of defense. Through 4 destroyers and ground batteries and 100 interceptors. 1 survivor. Carrying 1,000 pounds of explosive toward the largest naval base on the West Coast. 1 failure. Second Patriot engagement. Missiles away! The final SAMs launch. 4 weapons against 1 target. Overwhelming firepower. Should be enough. Has to be enough. The cruise missile is 5 minutes from impact. I watch the display. Watch the blue symbols chase the red symbol. Watch the final seconds before either our missiles connect or theirs does. Impact! Splash count 36! All cruise missiles destroyed!
The last threat eliminated. 3 minutes before it would have hit the naval base. 3 minutes before it would have killed hundreds. We stopped them all. Every single missile. Perfect defense. 0 leakers. Confirmed kill on final cruise missile. Confirmed. All 36 cruise missiles destroyed. No impacts on San Diego. The city is safe. Safe. 17 million people who'll wake up tomorrow not knowing how close they came. Not knowing that 3 Chinese destroyers and 5 submarines almost ended American naval power in the Pacific. Not knowing that 4 destroyers and some luck stopped it. Captain, update from Sterret. They're stabilizing. List is holding at 12 degrees. Captain Vance reports they can maintain station but need immediate support. 12 degrees. Same list that killed the Hamilton at 16. Sterret is hurt, flooding, but alive, still fighting. Move to render assistance. Get damage control teams ready for transfer. Aye, sir. The Mahan maneuvers toward the damaged destroyer. Through the viewport, I can see Sterret listing to port, water pumping from her scuppers, damage control teams working frantically to stop the flooding. She's beautiful even wounded. Still afloat. Still dangerous. Still American steel refusing to die. Captain, sonar contact. Subsurface. Single contact at bearing 275, range 40 miles. Assess it's one of the Chinese submarines. It's running deep, heading west. Running. 1 submarine surviving, retreating after the attack failed, after we killed all 3 destroyers and stopped all 36 missiles. After we won. Can we prosecute? Park checks his systems. Negative. We're Winchester on Rock. Used everything on the destroyers. Winchester. Empty magazines, nothing left to shoot. We can track the submarine, but we can't kill it. Can only watch it escape.
Alert the task force. Pass the track to any submarine assets in the area. Aye, Captain. The submarine disappears into the deep water. Survived because we ran out of weapons. Because we committed everything to stopping the cruise missiles. Trade-offs. The math of modern war. You can't kill everything. You can only kill what matters most and let the rest go. Captain, Fleet Command is broadcasting. Admiral Chen's voice cuts through. Sharp, relieved. All stations, this is PACOM. Confirm 0 impacts on San Diego. Outstanding performance by all ships. You stopped the attack. You saved the base. The President will be briefed within the hour. Expect commendations. PACOM sends. Commendations. Medals. Recognition for stopping every missile, for perfect defense, for doing what Boston couldn't do. Ortiz is watching me. We did it, Captain. Perfect defense, not a single leaker. Perfect defense. 0% got through, 100% stopped. The math everyone dreams about but nobody achieves. Except we just did. How many torpedoes hit the task force? She checks her display. 1 impact, Sterret. Capt. Advance reports 14 casualties. 8 dead, 6 wounded. 14 casualties. 8 families destroyed. 6 sailors fighting for their lives in the Sterret's medical bay. The cost of perfect defense against cruise missiles. Not so perfect after all. And the Chinese? All 3 destroyers destroyed. 5 submarines. 1 confirmed kill, 4 retreated. Estimate 600 to 900 enemy casualties. 600 to 900 dead. Chinese sailors who were following orders, who were doing their jobs, who died because they tried to kill San Diego. And we stopped them. The math keeps piling up. 8 American sailors, 600 Chinese sailors, 608 dead total to save 17 million people. Is that victory? Is that something to celebrate? Captain, message from Sterret. Captain Vance requests permission to speak with you. I pick up the radio. Diana, it's Cole. How bad? Her voice strained, tired. Bad. We took the hit in the forward engine room. 14 casualties. Flooding is under control, but we're immobilized, going to need a tow back to port. 14 casualties. I think about Marcus Reeves, about the 25 crew who went down with the Hamilton, about how Diana Vance just got luckier than Marcus did. We're moving to support. My damage control teams are ready to transfer. Appreciated. We stopped them. All of them.
Not a single missile got through. We did. So why do I feel like we lost? Because 8 of her sailors are dead. Because perfect defense still costs blood. Because victory in this war is measured in who dies less, not who survives. Because we're still fighting. Because the war isn't over. Because tomorrow there's another attack, and we do this again. Tomorrow. See you in port, Cole. See you in port. The line goes dead. My phone vibrates. I pull it out, read her message. News is reporting an attack on San Diego was stopped. They're saying you're there. Are you okay? I stare at the message, at the question I can't answer honestly. Because I'm alive, but 8 sailors aren't. Because we won, but it cost blood. Because okay stopped meaning anything months ago. I type back. I'm fine. We stopped the attack. San Diego is safe. 3 dots appear immediately. Thank God. I was so scared. Uncle Danny saw the news. He's been texting me. He says be safe. Still in Boston. Still carrying the weight of 230 dead from his sector alone. Still seeing their faces. Still understanding that safety is an illusion in this war. Tell Danny, I'm okay. Tell him we won this one. He says he's proud of you. Says stopping all the missiles is amazing. Stopping all the missiles. Perfect defense. The thing everyone wants. The thing that still cost 8 lives. Thanks, sweetheart. I have to go. Love you. Love you too, Dad. Please come home soon. Soon. The lie I keep telling. The promise I can't keep while this war continues, while attacks keep coming, while cities need defending. I put the phone away. Ortiz is still watching me. Your daughter? Scared because she saw the news. Relieved that we won. We did win. Perfect defense. No leakers. First time in this war. First time. Because Boston let 6 through. Because Washington let 15 through. Because every other defensive engagement has had leakers, has had failures, has had the 6% or 2% or 15% that kills civilians. Tonight, we stopped 100%. Tonight, we proved it's possible. Tonight, we achieved what everyone said was impossible. And it still cost 8 sailors their lives. Status on the Chinese submarines? 4 contacts retreating west, range increasing. Assess their withdrawing to regroup. Withdrawing. Running. After the attack failed. After we killed their destroyers and stopped their missiles, after we proved that American defenses can achieve perfect intercept rates. They'll learn from this, adapt, come back with more missiles next time, more submarines, more threats, more math that doesn't balance. That's how this war works. We get better, they get better. The attacks keep coming, the defenses keep improving, and people keep dying in the margins. Captain Sterrett reports they're ready for damage control assistance. They need pumps and welding equipment.
Deploy our teams. Get them everything they need. Aye, sir. The RHIBs launch, carrying damage control specialists toward the wounded destroyer. Carrying hope that we can save the ship, that we can stop the flooding before it becomes unrecoverable. The Diana Vance won't have to make the choice Marcus Reeves made. Through the viewport, I watch our boats cross the dark water. Watch them reach the Sterrett. Watch sailors transfer equipment. Watch professionals fighting to save a ship that refused to die. We're getting better at this. Boston taught us how to improve defense rates. Washington taught us how to coordinate intercepts. Tonight taught us that perfect is possible. But perfect still costs. Captain, update from Fleet Command. They're directing all ships to maintain station, pending damage assessment. Expect relief forces within 6 hours. National Guard mobilizing for port security. This goes to DEFCON 2. DEFCON 2. One step below nuclear war. One step below the moment where conventional warfare becomes something worse. We've been dancing at DEFCON 3 since the war started. Elevated alert. Combat operations, ships sinking and cities burning, but always with the understanding that nuclear weapons were off the table, that this war had limits. DEFCON 2 means those limits are eroding, Means someone in Washington thinks escalation is imminent. Means the attacks aren't stopping. Means this war is accelerating towards something none of us want to see. Acknowledge. We'll maintain station. Aye, Captain. I look at the tactical display. 4 destroyers holding position off San Diego. 1 damaged, 1 lucky. All of them waiting for the next attack that might come tomorrow, or next week, or never. We proved perfect defense is possible tonight. Proved that with the right coordination and enough weapons and some luck, you can stop everything. Can achieve 100% intercept rates. Can save 17 million people without losing 1 to enemy missiles. But we can't sustain this. Can't maintain this level of readiness indefinitely. Can't expect perfect performance every time. Can't keep trading ships and sailors for cities and hoping the math works out. Boston stopped 94% and called it victory. Tonight we stopped 100% and lost 8 sailors. Tomorrow we'll face another attack with depleted magazines and exhausted crews and ships that are 1 torpedo hit from sinking. How long can we keep this up? How many more perfect defenses before we run out of ships? Before we run out of sailors willing to stand watch? Before we run out of luck? The relief forces arrive at 0820 hours, 6 hours after the attack. 6 hours of sitting with empty magazines while the ocean hides threats we can't see. 2 fresh destroyers, USS Chaffee and USS Fitzgerald, full weapons loads, rested crews, ready to take over the watch while we limp back to port for rearming and repairs. Captain James Morrison commands the Chaffee, old friend from the academy, lost his wife in the Washington attacks, lost his faith in perfect defenses about the same time I did. He radios over as his ship takes position. Cole, heard you achieved the impossible, 100% intercept rate. They're already calling it the San Diego Miracle. Miracle, that word. Like divine intervention stopped those missiles instead of mathematics and 76 interceptors and Diana Vance taking a torpedo to keep fighting. We got lucky, James. Had the weapons, had the positioning, had everything go right. Getting everything to go right is the miracle. Washington couldn't do it. Boston couldn't do it. You did. I watched the Chaffee maneuver into our defensive position. Clean lines. Fresh paint. A ship that hasn't been torpedoed yet. Hasn't learned what flooding sounds like. Hasn't lost crew to Chinese submarines. How's Sterrett? Morrison asks. I look toward the damaged destroyer. She's stable at 12 degrees, pumps running. Damage control teams have stopped the flooding, but haven't fixed the damage. She'll need dry dock. Weeks of repairs, maybe months. Alive. Diana kept her crew fighting even after the hit. Lost 8 sailors, saved the rest. 8 den is better than 300. Better than what happened to Hamilton. Better than. That calculation that defines modern warfare. Better than total loss. Better than catastrophic failure. Better than the worst case scenario we prepare for every time we leave port. 8 dead is better than 300. 4,000 dead in Boston is better than 100,000. 18,000 across 5 cities is better than total devastation. We measure victory by degrees of loss, by percentages of survival, by how much less terrible reality is compared to what it could have been. Better than Hamilton. Morrison's voice drops. They're saying DEFCON 2 is permanent now, saying this is the new normal. Multiple attacks per week. Coordinated strikes on both coasts. They're calling it the attrition phase. Attrition phase. Military terminology for grinding warfare. For battles that don't end. For campaigns where both sides bleed until someone runs out of ships or weapons or sailors willing to fight. How long can we sustain this? As long as we have to. That's what PACOM says, that's what the president says. We fight until China and Russia exhaust their capability, or we do. And if we exhaust first, if we run out of destroyers before they run out of missiles, if the math tips and suddenly defensive engagements achieve 90% instead of 100%, then cities burn, then millions die, then we lose.
Cole, you should know. Intelligence is reporting increased submarine activity off Los Angeles. Similar pattern to what we saw here. They think another attack is coming. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow.
Los Angeles. 12 million people. The port of Los Angeles. Critical infrastructure for West Coast shipping. Another target too valuable to ignore. Another city that needs defending.
How many ships on station?
3 destroyers. Mason, Pinckney, and Russell.
Good crews. But if LA gets hit with the same numbers we saw here,
3 destroyers against 36 missiles is manageable math. 3 destroyers against 50 or 60 is catastrophe. 3 destroyers against 100 is watching Los Angeles burn.
they need reinforcements. They're getting them. PACOM is repositioning every available ship. But Cole, there aren't enough. We've lost 6 destroyers since the war started. Roosevelt, Porter, Hamilton, Kearney, and 2 others. We're running out of platforms faster than we can build new ones. 6 destroyers. 2,000 sailors. Billions in technology. All gone. All lost because this war demands perfect defense. And perfect defense costs ships. The math doesn't balance. Never has. We can't sustain losses at this rate while maintaining defensive coverage on both coasts. Eventually we run out of ships. Eventually the gaps in coverage become holes. Eventually attacks get through because there's nobody left to stop them. What does PACOM recommend? More aggressive posture? Offensive operations against Chinese and Russian naval assets? Preemptive strikes on their launch platforms before they can threaten the homeland? Offensive operations. Taking the fight to them. Sinking their ships before they can launch missiles. Destroying their submarines before they can position for attacks. It's logical. Strategic. The kind of solution that looks perfect on paper in Pentagon briefing rooms. It's also how wars escalate. How conventional conflicts become something worse. How limited engagements become total war. And if we go offensive, Morrison is quiet for a moment. Then we find out if China and Russia respond proportionally, or if they escalate to weapons we don't want to see used. Nuclear weapons. The unspoken threat. The line nobody wants to cross. The moment when conventional warfare stops and something apocalyptic begins. We've kept this war conventional for 18 months. Kept it limited to ships and missiles and cities. Kept the nuclear arsenals locked away because using them means ending everything. DEFCON 2 means that restraint is eroding. Means someone thinks escalation is coming. Means the attacks might not stay conventional forever. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Hope isn't strategy, Cole, but it's all we have right now. The line goes dead. Ortiz approaches. She looks as exhausted as I feel. 38 hours without sleep, running on adrenaline and fear and professional discipline, like the rest of us. Captain, we're cleared to proceed to port. Sterrett is under tow by Fitzgerald. We'll make Naval Base San Diego by 1100 hours. 1100 hours. 2.5 hours from now to think about 8 dead sailors. About 600 dead Chinese sailors. About the math that says tonight was victory. Set course for port. Standard approach. Aye, sir. The Mahan turns east. Toward San Diego. Toward the naval base we saved. Toward the 17 million people who'll never know how close they came to dying. Through the viewport, I can see the city. Morning sun painting the buildings gold. Traffic moving on the freeways. Life continuing. Normal. Unaware. They don't know that 3 destroyers almost killed them. Don't know that 5 submarines positioned to guarantee missiles got through. Don't know that Diana Vance took a torpedo to keep fighting. Don't know that 8 sailors died so they could wake up alive. Maybe that's better. Maybe ignorance is mercy. Maybe knowing how fragile safety is would break them the way it's breaking us. My phone vibrates. Not Emma this time. Saw the news. They're saying you stopped everything. Saying San Diego is safe because of you. Saying you're a hero. Hero. That word again. The label that doesn't fit. That assumes stopping missiles somehow compensates for the sailors who died stopping them. I text back. We did our job. Lost 8 sailors doing it. That's not heroic, that's just expensive. 3 dots appear. Stop. Appear again. Cole, you saved 17 million people. 8 dead is tragic, but it's not the thousands I pulled from rubble in Boston. It's not the 4,000 who died because we couldn't stop all of them. You achieved perfect defense. That matters. Perfect defense. Everyone keeps using that phrase like it's some ultimate achievement, like stopping 100% justifies the cost. Does it matter to the 8 families who lost someone? Does perfect defense mean anything to them? Long pause, then. It doesn't. Nothing means anything to the families of the dead, but it means something to the 17 million who lived, to the families that stayed intact, to the children who will grow up with parents because you stopped those missiles. I stare at the message, at Danny's attempt to frame tonight as victory, to make the math balance, to justify 8 deaths against 17 million survivors. The math works on paper. 8 divided by 17 million is statistically insignificant, an acceptable loss rate, a rounding error in the equation of war. But I knew one of those 8. Engineering 3rd class Marcus Chen, 23 years old, joined the Navy to pay for college, wanted to be a teacher after his service ended, died when a Chinese torpedo punched through the Sterrett's hull and flooded the forward engine room where he was fighting fires. Marcus Chen was not a rounding error, was not statistically insignificant, was a person with plans and dreams and a family that's going to bury him next week. I know, Danny. I know it matters. I just don't know if it's enough. It's never enough. I learned that in Boston. 230 dead in my sector. I saved hundreds more. But the 230 are what I see when I close my eyes. Not the ones who lived. The ones who died. He gets it. Understands that victory and loss coexist. That you can save thousands and lose dozens, and both truths are real. That the math working doesn't make the cost acceptable. How do you keep going?
I don't know. I just do. Because people need help. Because stopping means surrendering. Because the alternative is worse. The alternative is worse. That's the calculation. That's what justifies the cost. Not that we achieved perfect defense, not that we saved 17 million people, just that failure would have been worse. I'm coming to San Diego tomorrow, Danny texts. FEMA is rotating me out for a mandatory rest. Figured I'd visit my hero brother. I'm not a hero. You're the closest thing I've got. Let me have this. I almost smile. Almost. Okay, see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Stay safe, brother. The line goes quiet. We're 15 miles from San Diego now. Close enough to see the skyline. Close enough to count the carriers in port. Close enough to see the naval base that almost died tonight. The waterfront is busy. Ships moving. Sailors working. Life continuing like last night didn't happen. Like 3 destroyers and 5 submarines didn't almost end American naval power in the Pacific. Maybe that's how you survive this war. Compartmentalize. Process the threat. Move forward. Don't dwell on how close disaster came. Don't think about the math. Don't count the dead unless you have to. Captain receiving priority traffic from Fleet Command. Stand by for Admiral Chen.
The Admiral's voice cuts through. Sharp, professional. A woman who lost her son and kept commanding, who understands cost better than anyone. Captain Harris, this is Pacific Command. Outstanding performance last night, perfect defense, 0 leakers. First time in this war, the President wants to commend you personally. You'll be receiving orders for a White House ceremony next month. White House ceremony. Photo opportunity. Political theater. The President shaking my hand while cameras roll. Recognition for achieving perfect defense while 8 families bury their dead. Acknowledged, Admiral. We did our job. You did more than your job. You proved perfect defense is possible. Proved that with correct positioning and sufficient firepower, we can stop these attacks. That matters strategically. That changes calculations in Beijing and Moscow. Changes calculations because now China and Russia know we can achieve 100% intercept rates, know that throwing 36 missiles at San Diego isn't enough, know they need to increase the numbers. Throw 50 next time, or a 70, or 100. Perfect defense doesn't end the attacks. It escalates them, forces the enemy to adapt, to bring more weapons, to create scenarios where perfect defense becomes impossible. Admiral, what are the chances Los Angeles gets hit tonight? Chan is quiet for a moment. Then, 70%. Intelligence shows increased submarine activity, surface contacts maneuvering into position. It's the same pattern you saw. We're reinforcing the defensive screen, but we're stretched thin. 70% chance. 3 destroyers on station. Math that might not work out. Los Angeles might become the next Boston. The next city that loses thousands because we can't stop everything. What's the attack profile? Unknown. Could be 30 missiles like San Diego. Could be 50. Could be 100 if they're committing to overwhelming the defense. We won't know until it starts. 100 missiles against 3 destroyers is catastrophe. Is watching Los Angeles burn. Is thousands dead. Is perfect defense becoming impossible because the enemy adapted. That's the trap. We achieved perfect defense, and they escalate the threat. We stopped 36 missiles, and they launch 50. We save 1 city, and they attack 3 simultaneously. The math never balances. We just trade one impossible scenario for another. Does LA have ground-based defenses? Patriot batteries at 4 locations. They can engage missiles that get through the destroyer screen. But Cole, if LA gets hit with 100 missiles and only 3 destroyers on station, she doesn't finish. Doesn't have to. The math is obvious. 3 destroyers might throw 60 standards total. Might kill 70%. Ground defenses might kill another 20%. 10% still gets through. 10 missiles hitting Los Angeles. Thousands dead. Not perfect defense. Not even close. Can we reinforce? Every available ship is already positioned. East Coast needs coverage for New York and Boston. Gulf needs coverage for Houston and New Orleans. We're playing zone defense with half the players we need. Zone defense. Basketball terminology for warfare. Cover as much as you can, except that gaps exist. Hope the enemy doesn't exploit them. Except the enemy always exploits gaps. That's how warfare works. You find the weakness, you attack it, you force the defense to choose between bad options. Admiral, if LA gets hit badly, then we lose another city. Then thousands die. Then we explain to the President why perfect defense in San Diego didn't prevent catastrophe in Los Angeles. That's the situation, Captain. That's the war we're fighting. The war we're fighting. Attrition warfare. Multiple cities under threat. Defensive capability stretched beyond breaking. Perfect defense becoming impossible because there aren't enough ships. How long can we sustain this? How many more attacks before we run out of destroyers? Before the gaps become holes? Before we're watching cities burn because there's nobody left to defend them? Understood, Admiral. Harris, you did outstanding work last night. Don't lose sight of that. Perfect defense matters. Proves it's possible. Gives us a benchmark to aim for. Yes, ma'am.
PACOM out. The mine goes dead. 10 miles from port now. Close enough to see individual ships. Close enough to read hull numbers. Close enough to count the carriers that would have burned if we'd failed last night.
The USS Carl Vinson sits pierside. 90,000 tons, 70 aircraft, 5,000 crew. $100 billion of American power projection. Target number 1 if those missiles had gotten through. We saved her. Saved the submarines, saved the repair facilities, saved everything. Cost 8 sailors to do it. Is that victory? Is that acceptable? Is that sustainable? Captain, we're 5 miles from port. Request permission to secure from general quarters. 5 miles. We're safe. We're home. We're in protected waters where Chinese submarines don't hunt, where torpedoes don't chase us, where we can breathe without calculating survival odds. Permission granted, secure from general quarters, set normal watch. Aye, sir. The tension breaks. Around the bridge, crew relax. Shoulders drop. Breathing deepens. The fear that kept us sharp for 38 hours finally releases. We survived. Again. Stopped the attack. Again. Saved the city. Again. How many more times before our luck runs out? Before the math stops working? Before we become the Hamilton, or the Roosevelt, or the Porter? Ortiz approaches. Captain, with your permission, I'd like to address the crew. Tell them what they accomplished, what they saved. She wants to give them closure, recognition, something to hold on to that makes the last 38 hours mean something. She keys the 1MC. All hands, this is Commander Ortiz. Last night, we achieved something unprecedented in this war. Perfect defense. 100% intercept rate. 36 missiles inbound to San Diego. 36 missiles destroyed. 0 leakers. 0 impacts. 17 million people are alive this morning because of you. Because you stood watch. Because you did your job perfectly. The city is safe. The naval base is intact. American naval power is preserved. You saved everything. Be proud of that. The ship is proud of you. The Navy is proud of you. Your country is proud of you. Secure from general quarters. Well done. The announcement ends. Silence for a moment. Then, distantly, I hear applause. Crew celebrating, recognizing what they accomplished, what they saved. They deserve that moment. Deserve to feel proud. Deserve to believe that perfect defense justifies the cost. I envy them. Envy their ability to see last night as pure victory, to not think about engineering third-class Marcus Chin, to not calculate whether 8 dead is acceptable, to not wonder if Los Angeles is about to burn because we can't be in 2 places simultaneously. But I'm the captain. Calculating is my job. Wondering is my burden. Knowing that perfect defense in one city doesn't stop attacks on others is my weight to carry. Captain, we're approaching port, ready to dock. Take us in. The Mahan glides into Naval Base San Diego, past the carriers and submarines, past the repair facilities and supply depots, past everything we saved last night. The pier is crowded. Families waiting, sailors returning from deployment, news cameras set up. Everyone wants to see the crew that achieved perfect defense, that stopped the San Diego attack, that proved victory is possible. They're going to be disappointed. We don't look like heroes. We look exhausted, scared, hollow, like people who spent 38 hours deciding between impossible choices and hoping the math worked out. We look like survivors, not victors. The ship docks. Line secure. Brow extends. Connection to land reestablished. For now, until the next attack. Until the next impossible calculation. Until we find out if Los Angeles survives tonight. Or if our perfect defense in San Diego just meant the enemy adapted. That's the trap. We won the battle, but the war continues, and every victory just escalates the threat. Welcome to modern warfare, where
Perfect defense costs 8 lives. We're saving 17 million isn't enough because 12 million in LA might die tomorrow, where the math never balances and captains keep calculating anyway. Because that's the job. Because cities need defending. Because the alternative is worse. Danny's right. The alternative is always worse. That's what keeps us fighting.
Danny arrives at 1400 hours the next day. I meet him at the base gate. Haven't seen him since before Boston. 4 months. He looks older, like something inside got carved out and never grew back. We hug. He holds on longer than usual, like he's checking that I'm real, that I survived San Diego, that this war hasn't taken me yet. You looked like hell, he says. You look worse. He laughs. Hollow. Yeah, pulling bodies from rubble for 3 months does that. We walk toward the waterfront, toward the Mahan. She's in for resupply. Magazine reloading, minor repairs, getting ready for the next attack that intelligence says is coming tonight. Los Angeles. 70% probability, maybe 100 missiles. 3 destroyers on station. They're calling it the San Diego Miracle, Danny says. Perfect defense. Every news channel. You're famous. Famous. For doing the job. For stopping missiles that should never have gotten close. For trading 8 sailors so 17 million could live. We got lucky. Had the weapons. Had the positioning. It went right. Cole, you achieved 100%. That's not luck. That's skill. Is it? Or is it just that the enemy only brought 36 missiles instead of 50? That they positioned 5 submarines instead of 8? That the math happened to balance this one time? 8 sailors died, Danny. Starrett took a torpedo. Engineering third class Marcus Chen bled out in the flooded engine room while we were shooting down missiles. That's not skill. That's cost. Danny stops walking, looks at me. Cole, in Boston, I lost 230 people in my sector. 230. If I could trade that for 8, I'd do it every time. You saved 17 million people. 8 deaths is tragic, but it's not catastrophic. It's not thousands. It's not what losing looks like, but it's what winning looks like in this war. Small losses instead of large ones. Dozens dead instead of thousands. Cities partially destroyed instead of completely leveled. We measure victory by degrees of catastrophe avoided, by percentages of survival, by how much less terrible reality is compared to nightmare scenarios. They're hitting Los Angeles tonight. Intelligence says 70% probability. Could be 100 missiles. Danny's face changes, hardens. How many ships on station? 3 destroyers. 3 destroyers against 100 missiles is catastrophe. Yeah, I know. We reach the waterfront. The Mahan sits pierside. Crew loading missiles. Standards and ESSMs and Tomahawks. Filling the magazines for the next fight. The next impossible calculation. Around us, the naval base functions. Sailors working, ships moving, the machinery of war continuing. Like last night didn't happen. Like tonight isn't coming. Are you going? Danny asks. No, we're in port for resupply. Won't be combat ready until tomorrow morning. LA defense falls to Mason, Pinckney, and Russell. 3 ships, 3 crews, about to face the same math we faced. Except worse. Except with more missiles and fewer interceptors and math that probably doesn't work out. What happens if they can't stop them? What happens? Los Angeles burns. 12 million people learn what Boston learned, what Washington learned, that perfect defense somewhere else doesn't protect them, that the Navy can't be everywhere, that sometimes you live in the gap. Thousands die, maybe tens of thousands depending on where the missiles hit. The port of Los Angeles gets destroyed, critical infrastructure goes offline, West Coast shipping stops, the economic damage cascades. Danny sits on a bollard, stares at the water. This can't continue. We can't keep doing this. Trading cities for time, hoping we stop enough missiles,
bleeding sailors and civilians while they throw everything they have at us. He's right. We can't sustain this. Can't maintain defensive coverage across both coasts with dwindling ship numbers and exhausted crews. Can't expect perfect defense every time. Can't keep trading 8 sailors here and 230 civilians there and call it victory. PACOM wants to go offensive. Strike Chinese and Russian naval assets before they can launch preemptive attacks on their submarines and destroyers. And if we do that, then we find out if they escalate, if they respond proportionally, or if they use weapons we don't want to see. Nuclear weapons. The unspoken threat. The line we've kept this war behind. The moment when conventional conflict becomes something worse.
Danny looks at me.
Would they? Would they actually use them? Would they?
I don't know. Nobody knows. We're at DEFCON 2 because someone thinks they might, because the attacks aren't stopping, because China and Russia keep pushing and we keep bleeding, and eventually someone decides escalation is better than losing. If we sink enough of their ships, destroy enough of their capability, corner them badly enough, yeah, they might. And then the war becomes something different. Then cities don't burn from cruise missiles. Then millions die from weapons we've spent 70 years promising never to use. We sit in silence. 2 brothers. One pulls bodies from rubble. One stops missiles from creating rubble. Both of us trapped in a war that doesn't end. That just escalates. That keeps demanding more until there's nothing left. Cole, what's the end game? How does this war finish? I've thought about this. Late watches, empty magazines, moments between attacks when the tactical display goes quiet and you can think about something besides survival. One of 3 ways. We bleed them dry, sink enough ships, destroy enough capability that they can't sustain attacks. They bleed us dry, destroy enough ships, hit enough cities that we can't maintain defense. Or someone uses nuclear weapons and we all lose. Those are terrible options. Yeah, welcome to modern warfare. My phone vibrates. Fleet Command, priority alert. All units, this is PACOM. Confirmed Chinese surface action group detected 140 miles west of Los Angeles. Multiple destroyers, supported by submarine screen. Assess intent is coordinated strike on LA metro area. Attack window 2100 to 2300 hours local. All defensive units, weapons free. Engage and destroy all hostile contacts. 2100 hours. 7 hours from now. 7 hours until Los Angeles learns if 3 destroyers can stop what's coming. Missile count, I text back. Response comes immediately. Unknown. Estimate 60 to 100 based on number of launchers detected. This will be the largest single strike of the war. 60 to 100 missiles against 3 destroyers, against maybe 75 defensive missiles total. Against math that doesn't work, even with perfect performance. They'll kill maybe 70%, maybe 80% if ground defenses work perfectly. 20 to 30 missiles will get through. We'll hit Los Angeles. We'll kill thousands. Danny, you should leave the base. Go inland. LA is going to get hit tonight. He looks at me. How bad? Bad. Maybe the worst attack of the war. We can't stop them all. How many through? 20, maybe 30. Depends on how many they launch and how well the defense works. 20 to 30 missiles hitting Los Angeles. 20 to 30,000 pound warheads striking downtown, the port, the surrounding neighborhoods. 20 to 30 chances for catastrophe. I should go help, Danny says. When it starts, I should be there. Danny, you just rotated out of Boston. You need rest. People will need help. Paramedics, search and rescue. I can't sit here knowing I can make a difference. That's Danny. Still running toward disasters. Still trying to save people, even when the numbers are impossible. Still believing that one more person helping matters. Maybe it does. Maybe saving one person out of thousands dead is enough. Maybe that's all we can do in this war. Save who we can, stop what we can, accept that perfect is impossible and better is all we get. Be careful. Always am. He stands. I'm gonna check with FEMA, see what they need, where they need. He stops, turns. For doing this. For running toward the disasters everyone else runs from. He almost smiles. Runs in the family. You run toward missiles, I run toward rubble. We're both crazy. Yeah, we are. He leaves. Walks toward the FEMA staging area, toward the teams that will deploy when Los Angeles burns, when the missiles get through, when perfect defense becomes impossible. I watch him go. My little brother, the paramedic, the one who saves people because someone has to and he's there. Ortiz appears beside me. Captain, saw the alert. LA's getting hit tonight. Are we deploying? We're still loading magazines. Won't be combat ready until 0600 tomorrow. Which means we sit here, watch from 80 miles away, count the missiles that get through, listen to the casualty reports, know that if we'd been ready 6 hours earlier, maybe we could have helped. What's the estimate? 60 to 100 missiles, 3 destroyers on station, maybe 20 to 30 leakers. Ortiz does the math. I watch her face change. Watch her process what 20 to 30 missiles hitting LA means, what thousands dead looks like. What failure costs. Catastrophe. Can they stop more? Can they achieve better than 70%? Can they? Maybe. With perfect positioning and perfect performance and perfect luck, San Diego proved 100% is possible. Proved that with the right circumstances, you can stop everything. But San Diego had 4 destroyers, had full magazines, had submarines that missed with their torpedoes, had everything go right. Los Angeles has 3 destroyers, partial magazines, submarines that won't miss twice, has everything about to go wrong, if they're lucky. Then Los Angeles becomes the next Boston. Then 12 million people learn what 4,000 dead in one night feels like. Then we explain why perfect defense in San Diego didn't save LA. The hours crawl. We watch. We wait. We monitor radio traffic as defensive units position, as submarines hunt submarines, as 3 destroyers prepare to stop something that might be unstoppable. 1900 hours. 2 hours until the attack window opens. 2000 hours. 1 hour. 2030 hours. Submarine contact detected west of Los Angeles. Multiple contacts. Chinese Type 093s positioning for torpedo attacks. 2045 hours. Surface contacts detected. 4 Chinese destroyers, range 100 miles, speed 40 knots, sprint formation. They're coming. 2100 hours. First missile launch detected. All stations, this is Mason. Vampire, vampire, vampire. Multiple cruise missiles inbound. Count is... Jesus. Count is 78 missiles. Repeat, 78 cruise missiles targeting Los Angeles. 78 missiles. More than double what hit San Diego. Against 3 destroyers. Against maybe 60 defensive missiles total. The math doesn't work. Can't work. 30 to 40 missiles will get through. We'll hit LA. We'll kill thousands. Mason is engaging. Standards away. I watch the tactical feed. 3 destroyers throwing everything they have, every standard, every ESSM, every defensive weapon racing toward 78 cruise missiles. It's not enough. I know it's not enough. The numbers are too big. The defensive capability too small. The gap between what we can stop and what's coming too wide. First impacts. Splash count 28. 50 remaining. 50 missiles. Getting through 2 destroyers. Getting through everything. Getting closer to Los Angeles. Torpedo impact. Mason is hit. Repeat. Mason is hit. They're taking on water. Mason. 300 crew. Just learned what the Hamilton learned. What the Steerat learned. What every ship that takes a torpedo learns. That the ocean wins. Mason is... Captain Harris, Mason is going down. Listed 18 degrees and accelerating. Captain Reynolds is ordering abandoned ship.
Abandon ship. The order no captain wants to give. The moment when you choose crew over steel. When you accept the ship is lost and focus on saving lives. Mason's crew has maybe 15 minutes before she rolls. 15 minutes to evacuate 300 sailors from a sinking destroyer while cruise missiles race toward the city they're trying to protect. Captain Pinkney and Russell continue engaging. Splash count 39. 39 remaining. 39 missiles. Getting through. Getting past the destroyers. Getting past the Patriots. Getting through everything. Ground defenses engaging. Patriots firing from all sides. The last layer. The final chance. Ground-based interceptors against 39 cruise missiles moving 600 knots at wave-top height. In San Diego, the Patriots killed the final 2 missiles, achieved perfect defense, saved 17 million people. Los Angeles has 39. Captain, Patriot impacts. Splash count 47, 31 remaining. 31 missiles. Getting through. Getting past the destroyers. Getting past the Patriots. Getting through everything. Second Patriot engagement. Splash count 53, 25 remaining. 25 missiles. 15 minutes from Los Angeles. From the port. From downtown. From 12 million people. We stopped 100% in San Diego. Los Angeles is about to take 25 hits. About to lose thousands. About to prove that perfect defense one night doesn't guarantee anything the next. Final Patriot engagement. Splash count 62. 16 remaining. 16 missiles. 10 minutes from impact. From catastrophe. From the moment when this war stops being theoretical for 12 million Californians. I watched the tactical display. Watch 16 red symbols race toward Los Angeles. Watch them disappear into the city. Then new explosions come. 16 flashes on the display. 16,000-pound warheads connecting with the port, with downtown, with neighborhoods and infrastructure, and people who thought they were safe. Impact confirmed. Multiple impacts in Los Angeles metro area. Port of Los Angeles, Long Beach, downtown LA, surrounding areas. Preliminary reports show, God, they're saying casualties in the thousands. Fires across multiple sectors. Infrastructure destroyed. The port is gone. The port is gone. 40% of West Coast shipping. Billions in economic activity. Critical infrastructure for the entire western United States. Gone. Destroyed by 16 missiles that 3 destroyers couldn't stop. Mason has capsized. Search and rescue operations underway. Early reports showed 200 survivors. 100 casualties. 100 dead. 300 total on the Mason. 100 who didn't make it off before she rolled. 100 families who just learned the cost of defending Los Angeles. Plus the thousands in LA itself. The civilians who died because 16 missiles got through. Because 3 destroyers couldn't achieve what 4 destroyers did in San Diego. Because perfect defense is impossible to sustain. My phone rings. Danny. Cool. I'm deploying to LA. FEMA is mobilizing everything. They're saying 5,000 dead. Maybe more. The port is destroyed. Downtown is burning. Brother, it's bad. 5,000 dead. In one night. From 16 missiles. From the leakers that got through. From the gap between what we could stop and what we needed to stop. Be careful, Danny. You will. Cole, this is what losing looks like, isn't it? This is what happens when we can't stop them all. This is what losing looks like. 5,000 dead. A port destroyed. Critical infrastructure offline. 100 sailors dead on the Mason. Survivors pulling bodies from rubble while Danny watches? This is the cost of fighting defensive warfare against an enemy that keeps escalating, that keeps bringing more missiles, that keeps attacking until the math stops working.
Yeah, this is what losing looks like. I have to go.
I love you, brother.
Love you too. Stay safe.
The line goes dead. I stand on the pier, watch the sunset over San Diego, over the city we saved, over 17 million people who lived because we achieved perfect defense. 80 miles north, Los Angeles burns. 5,000 dead, 16 missiles that got through, the port destroyed. Proof that perfect defense one night means nothing the next. Ortiz appears beside me. Watch the smoke rising from LA. Watch the helicopters racing north. Watch the machinery of disaster response activate. We saved San Diego, she says, quietly. But we couldn't save LA. Is that how this war works? We save what we can and watch the rest burn? Is that how it works? Save one city, lose another. Trade perfect defense here for catastrophe there. Keep fighting, keep defending, keep calculating which cities live and which cities die based on how many destroyers we can position in time. How long can we sustain this? How many more cities burn? How many more ships sink? How many more sailors and civilians die before someone decides escalation is better than losing? I don't know. I hope not, but I'm afraid it is. Afraid this is the new normal. Multiple attacks weekly, coordinated strikes. Some stopped perfectly, some stopped mostly, some not stopped enough. Cities burning, ships sinking, casualties mounting. The attrition phase. Grinding warfare, both sides bleeding and neither side winning, just fighting until someone runs out of ships or weapons or will.
Captain, we are fully loaded. Combat ready as of 0600 tomorrow. Tomorrow, when the next attack comes, when we deploy again, when we stand watch and hope the math works out and pray that perfect defense is possible one more time. Acknowledged. Secure the watch, let the crew rest. Tomorrow, we go back out. Aye, sir. Tomorrow. Always tomorrow. Always the next attack. Always the next city to defend. Always the next impossible calculation. But tonight, San Diego is safe. 17 million people alive because we stood watch. Because we did our job. Because 8 sailors traded their lives so millions could live. That has to be enough. Has to mean something. Even while Los Angeles burns. Even while Danny pulls bodies from rubble. Even while the math proves that saving one city doesn't stop attacks on others. We saved San Diego. We couldn't save LA. But what truths are real? That's modern warfare. That's the attrition phase. That's the war we're fighting. We'll fight again tomorrow. Stop what we can. Save who we can. Accept that perfect is impossible and better is all we get. Because cities need defending. Because millions of people are counting on us. Because the alternative is worse. The alternative is always worse. That's what keeps us fighting. Even when fighting costs everything. Even when winning looks like losing. Even when the war never ends.